So this is the third video of 2013, and this one's going to be about ideas and the power of ideas and how you seed ideas and how that's such an important thing to do, and it's very powerful, but it takes time. So I'm sure many of you are familiar with the movie Inception, so this might sound vaguely similar, but it's actually, much bigger than that. So an idea or a concept is like a seed. Okay, that's the best analogy. And so you're not able to generate all the ideas and all the concepts in the world by yourself, so you need other people to come in and show you things and explain things, and you eventually learn. So when you're growing up, you learn that this is how this works, and that's a new idea to you, and you're like, wow, okay. And then you learn about reading, how to read and how to write, and those are new ideas, but you take those in, you nurture them, and over time you refine them, and you're able to master those. Now, as you get older, you go to college or high school or college or whatever, and maybe go to graduate school, and you are constantly introduced to new ideas and concepts. Now, it's very important that you understand that. You don't have to go to college. You don't have to, do anything that is structured, that society is structured around you and say you need to do this to learn, you need to grow. But what you do need to do is you need to constantly expose yourself to new concepts and ideas, and then refine those and set up systems to refine those in your mind. Now, an idea is like a seed in that it can be planted by anybody. So think about this very, very carefully. If I tell you something and you're listening to me and you're open to listening to me for whatever reason, maybe you respect me, maybe you want to learn something, whatever the case may be, so your mind is open, I can plant an idea in your mind right then and there. And you can't unhear it. You already heard it. Now you can disregard it, and you could say that it's wrong, or et cetera, and so you can mitigate the idea, reduce the level of efficacy, but that idea was still planted. And so this is a power that people don't step back and look at. That you have the power to plant ideas in people's minds, and they cannot stop you from doing that. Now, what you have to do, though, is an idea or a concept or whatever is, like I said, a seed. And a seed won't grow unless you nurture it, unless it has structure around it, unless you can, like I said, nurture, structure. It needs, inputs like nutrients. It needs support. It needs to be checked. It needs to be refined. And you need different things around it. But you can grow it. So one of the things that I've done for years and years and years and years and years is I find people who have particular traits, and the traits that they have are something along the line is they got to have heart, and that's kind of general. Maybe I'll talk later about that, but they got to have heart, they got to be willing, they got to be humble, and they have to have a passion about something. If you can get that combination, you figure out the first three: heart, willingness, humbleness, and then you figure out what their passion is, and then whatever their passion is kind of centered around, or an area that it could diffuse to, you plant a seed in that area. And what will happen is, because they have that good foundation, they'll be able to grow that idea as they're going along in life. And it'll take years, but they'll remember that idea that you planted in their head. And years later, they'll refine it and refine it and refine it, and then they'll come see you and they'll say, look, da-da-da-da-da, and they'll have grown, and that idea will have grown. And so the power is that you have put this idea in their mind on good ground, and it grew. So again, the analogy is there, but it's a very strong analogy, and the way that you plant ideas well is that you explain them well to your target audience or your target person. So, and again, that person has to be willing. If someone's not willing to take in ideas, cut them loose. You can't do anything for that person until they're ready to check their pride at the door. And just take things in. And that doesn't mean you're right. It doesn't mean they're right. It's not about being right. It's about churning this process. It's about churning this idea and refining it and looking at it from different perspectives and really learning and growing. You have to be in that mode. But once you're doing that, once you're able to do that, it's very, very powerful. So the way that you set a seed well or set an idea well is that you explain it well. Now, a lot of times I see people bickering about who's right, this is da-da-da-da. Who the hell cares, okay? You're both being dumb. The thing is you need to be able to transfer your knowledge to that other person. You need to transfer that understanding to the other person, and so that they can reconstruct that understanding by themselves without fighting back and forth. Now, they may disagree with you initially, but if you are able to transfer understanding, eventually their mind, and the mind's kind of like this factory, it'll churn out the same widget on the other side. But your job, or a person who's trying to transfer ideas or a vision, your job is to formulate that in such a way that it resonates with your target audience. If it doesn't resonate, and you're using big words, or you're not explaining things well, or your analogies are crappy, it's just not going to set, and that seed's going to, die. But if you're able to set it well, and you're able to nurture it, and that person, and there's this connection between the person and the idea and the target audience, well, then you have the potential to grow something. And so that is extremely powerful. And again, it's not a hostile propaganda type thing. It can be used badly, or it can be used for good, or it can be used for any variety of things, but in between. But the idea is not to be hostily infiltrating people's minds. The idea is to be growing people and understanding that that's part of how you do it. Part of how you do it is by seeding ideas, new perspectives, and then transferring that well, and then supporting it as time goes on. Okay? So that's very powerful. And like I said in my previous video of structure, of social order, and things like that, this is at the internal level. This is what's inside a person. So inside a person, it's kind of like this factory of things that, stuff comes in, stuff goes out. But the stuff that goes in are those ideas and concepts and things, and they go through the factory, and over time they get integrated, and then stuff comes out. So ideas, very, 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 very powerful things. So I'll see you in the next video, and that's it for now.